5:03 Eastern in the evening, Monday, January 13th. I'm Bobby Trosset. As always, welcome inside the channel. Tonight is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. You can learn more about them in a couple different places, one of which is at the top of the show notes in the description of this video. Zay Flowers' latest, according to Adam Schefter, is coming up in just a second. Then what John Harbaugh had to say when asked directly about Zay's status after, of course, missing the wild card game over the weekend against the Steelers, and a number of other things that we're going to get to, including what is up with Pittsburgh. I mean, the Ravens essentially sent them into oblivion. And you want to know who had a nice little victory lap? Oh, he enjoyed a victory lap indeed. That is Chris Broussard of Fox Sports. And the victory lap came at the expense of Nick Wright. So I think you guys will appreciate that coming up in just a bit. On your way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. If you're in the Twitter space, pop on over to YouTube. It helps me out immensely. Here is Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, giving the latest on Zay's knee.
I think essentially he's going to have a chance to get back for this game. I know the Ravens felt like if they could win this past week, that Zay Flowers would have a chance to be back for the divisional playoff game. Now, it's a tough injury. It's a knee. No guarantees. Let's see how the week goes. But on Monday, leading up to that huge matchup, Sunday night, 6:30, I would say that there's a chance that Zay Flowers is going to be back in that game.
ESPN insider Adam Schefter providing the latest, referring to it as a chance. Ian Rappaport referred to it last week as an outside chance of being available. And, of course, if you had to pick between the 2 days, obviously the Ravens got what they would have liked, a Sunday matchup, just because, well, it's an extra day, even if it is just 24 hours that Zay can potentially get himself ready. When John Harbaugh was asked about it during his Monday press conference, this is what it sounded like earlier this afternoon.
In we'll see mode. He's working hard to get back, and we'll see toward the end of the week if he's practicing, and he could play without practicing for sure if he feels healthy enough and if it's safe for him.
All right, we'll see mode. In other words, I ain't giving you anything on this whatsoever. So Shefty says, quote, I think Zay has a chance to be back for the game against the Bills. There's no guarantees, and we'll see how the week goes. And Harbaugh says, I'm going tight-lipped. That's in we'll see mode. He's working hard to get back, and we'll see toward the end of the week if he's practicing. This, to me, though, is the key. He could play without practicing for sure if he feels healthy enough and if it's safe for him. It'll have been 13 days by the time Sunday rolls around and the Ravens have a chance to play for an AFC championship, or at least an appearance in the AFC championship, which will likely be in Kansas City. You never know. If Houston goes to Kansas City and the Ravens handle business on Sunday night, guess what? A second consecutive year in Baltimore will an AFC championship game be played, but that feels like it's light years away. Reality is, we'll learn a lot more about Zay in the coming days. They obviously proved this past weekend that they don't necessarily need him, but obviously these two teams, meaning the Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo Bills, are just night and day from a competitiveness standpoint, from a talent perspective. This Buffalo team is playing hot right now, and they just thumped the Denver Broncos yesterday with ease. And that was after getting punched in the mouth first. Bo Nix and the Broncos led that opening drive, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, is Sean Payton about to shock the world? And then it was all Bills in the second half, cruising to an easy victory. Do I think that the Ravens can get past Buffalo without Zay? I do. Do I think they can win a Super Bowl without him? I don't. I think they need Zay Flowers. I think they need his explosiveness. I think they need his eye candy ability, right? And what I mean by that is his sheer presence alone when he is out there. Opposing defenses have to take account for his shiftiness, for the misdirection, for the jet sweep action stuff. And so even if Zay is not at 100%, he could put a lot of stress solely based on preparation hours when it comes to opposing defenses. So that's where I'm at. Do I think it's the end of the world for this upcoming weekend? I do not. but I do believe it would be ultimately in terms of what they're trying to do this year, chasing after that coveted Lombardi trophy. Let me know what you think, chat. Is Zay Flowers necessary? His status, his availability necessary for a Super Bowl run? Would love to hear your thoughts. He's a 1,000-yard receiver, the first ever homegrown Ravens wide receiver that earned a Pro Bowl. Finally, that streak comes to an end this year. That's exactly what took place when voting was announced just a couple weeks ago. While we're on the injury category, Lamar, of course, got kneed in the back during the second quarter of Saturday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and John Harbaugh was asked if that would limit his participation in practice this week, and Harb says it doesn't look that way from what I've been told. Quote, it doesn't look that way from what I've been told. I'll tell you what, Lamar looked like he was in some considerable pain. Obviously, they asked quite a bit from him on Saturday night, including at one point in that first half, 5 straight called runs for Lamar. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up maybe as limited this week. But then again, maybe I'm discounting what could be great turnaround time for Lamar. All I know is it's going to be all hands on deck. And we know that everybody knows, and the NFL certainly knows, this is what everybody wanted. Ravens and Bills for a chance to go to the AFC Championship game. The 2 front-runner candidates for MVP. The 2 fan bases that are at each other's throats and have been for weeks, if not for months. This is what you want. The AFC clash. And you could argue, while Kansas City's record obviously dictated the number 1 overall seed and that coveted bye, you could argue that these are the 2 scariest teams across the entire field this year. Baltimore and Buffalo. 2 blue-collar towns, and I can't wait to get up there coming up on Sunday. ESPN Analytics put together matchup predictor numbers, basically looking at who has the edge. Look what it came up with. This thing is split right down the middle. 50-50. A coin flip, if you will. ESPN Bet, as we covered earlier today on our Ravens Lunch Hour live stream, has the Ravens as 1-point underdogs on the road. Of course, this is a team that thumped the Bills back in week 4. 35-10 was the final. I don't need to remind any of you about that. And look at what the 2 quarterbacks, these 2 front-runner candidates, did on Wild Card Weekend. This is a chart that takes a look at quarterback grading and efficiency. PFF did so. It's offensive grades and expected points added, meaning EPA per play, with a minimum of 15 plays. Again, this was the Wild Card Weekend. Look at where Lamar and Josh are. Yeah, there's a reason why these 2, in some people's minds, I think Lamar has the edge for reasons that we've discussed at length. But in a lot of folks' minds, and in Tony Romo's minds, because he said it yesterday during his broadcast, it is a coin flip for NFL MVP when it comes to Lamar and Josh Allen. But don't tell the NFL Players Association that. Don't tell the Associated Press All-Pro list of 50 distinguished media members, because both of those groups overwhelmingly voted for Lamar on a first-team basis for this year's quarterbacks. So some elite level quarterback play that you just have to sit back and appreciate. By the way, in terms of officiating, I know a lot of you are going to be paying close attention to this one. Carl Sheffers is the divisional round referee that will be working Bills-Ravens. It's a 6:30 kickoff on Sunday night, CBS broadcast. Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, and Tracy Wolfson from Highmark Stadium in Western New York. Sheffers, as Jonas Schaefer noted on Twitter, officiated the Ravens' Week 12 win. That was on prime time against the Los Angeles Chargers. And much like they were throughout many games this year, they were flagged heavy that day. And that night, I should say. I believe it was a Monday night game, was it not? 9 times, which negated 102 yards. I can remember a lot of those were self-inflicted. You could argue every single penalty is self-inflicted, but the Ravens were the most penalized team across the league this year, and that is something that they cannot afford to allow leaking into the postseason. They just can't. Now, they have, obviously, the offense and the firepower to overcome being ranked the way they were in those categories this year. But that's where things stand from an officiating standpoint going into this coming Sunday in the divisional round. Now, a lot of people will reference week 4, as Dan Orlovsky did yesterday. And as he tweeted, which is absolutely correct, the Ravens beat the absolute heck out of Buffalo 3 months ago. The important phrasing there is the timeline of that. It was 3 months ago. And as Alex noted here by quote tweeting Dan, the Bills were without several key members, some of which, and I should say some of whom, were injured. Others weren't even a part of the team, like an Amari Cooper, who was their acquisition at the deadline at the wide receiver position back in November. Aside from that, Matt Milano, Teron Johnson, and Terrell Bernard also missed that game due to injury. Now, the comeback here is pretty darn easy. And I'm sure you're probably looking for the same, a comeback, whether it's Bills fans in your mentions, whether it's bragging rights throughout the week. The reality is I don't know if these players would have affected things to turn the arrow in the other direction. The pendulum swung in Baltimore's favor that night, and it did so from the jump with that Derrick Henry 87-yard run to begin the game, by the way, within the first 12 seconds. You remember that? It's been a while. But Sunday Night Football back in week 4, that's exactly what happened. And it was a boat race from there. The King finished with 199 yards on the ground, 24 carries. He had that one touchdown and a long of 87. The team itself, 271 yards total. And the Bills had absolutely no answer. But I'm just being clear. To be fair, this is who Buffalo was without. You want to know who the Ravens were with? The worst-ranked passing defense. And that's what they were defensively through the first 10 weeks of this season before several changes were made. Really on all 3 levels. So, see what I did there? The Bills, yes, they were absolutely without several of their key standout players, particularly defensively. And Amari Cooper had not yet joined the fray. But the Ravens' passing defense was its Achilles heel. The scoring defense ranked 25th the first 10 weeks. Their total defense was 27th. Passing, as I mentioned, was dead last. On third down, they were 30th. In the red zone, tied for 20th. And opponent passer rating, 26th. They are now first in every single one of those categories when you look at weeks 12 through 18, the regular season finale. I should say weeks 13 through 18, one of which was the bye. Of course, that was 14. And so this group on the left-hand side of that column held Buffalo to 10 points. Again, 3 months ago. And again, the Bills were without several standout players. But those are the facts. Do I expect that Bills team to show up in front of their home crowd on Sunday night in that kind of form? No, I don't. But do I expect them to have consistent answers over 4 quarters for Baltimore smash mouth football? I don't either. And that's why I'll be picking the Ravens later this week. A to-be-determined score, by the way. If you guys already have scores, let me know, but I'm going to hold you to it throughout the week. Much more content to get to throughout the course of the next few days. Tonight's episode, it's brought to you by my car dealership sponsor, and that is my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And courtesy of them, for the last 14 months, I've been driving around in the Bobby Baltimore Bronco. It's a 2023 Ford Bronco Sport. Heated seats, the ability to turn on the car prior to getting in it on a cold night from the courtesy of an app, literally on my iPhone. a ton of space. Tilly camps out, spreads her legs in the back. It's awesome. It's got Sirius XM that's built in. I've really enjoyed driving around in my Bobby Baltimore Bronco, especially when you guys stop me on the road and honk at me, and I think I'm in the middle of road rage, and I'm really not. It's just you guys being friendly. At Preston, Bobby Baltimore subscribers receive 2 exclusive offers: $500 towards a newer pre-owned vehicle, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. If you go to the show notes below, you'll find a link at the top of the video description. And that brings you to this landing page right here where you can be reminded of those deals that you're eligible for. You can communicate with a site operator, Amanda. You can contact Preston by simply filling out this form. It's super easy. And over 4,400 vehicles you can shop from. The inventory section. Search by make, model, keyword, price, vehicle condition, year, make, so on and so forth. So many different options at Preston. You'd be joining the Preston team along with so many throughout the Baltimore area and beyond. I'm a brand ambassador, as is Kyle Hamilton, as is Mark Andrews. It's a fantastic family to work with. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com or just simply scan the QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Continued thanks to Preston for all the support that they give me. And we roll on. One super chat's come in from Captain Hard. Brew is a legend, or Brow. Is it Brew? It's Brew. It's Brew. And I know who you're referring to there, Captain. It's Chris Broussard. Well, as many of you know, Nick Wright, media personality, has had to eat his words fairly often when it comes to Lamar Jackson and join the club. There's plenty on the national scene that have had to do exactly that. Well, as we covered last week, Nick had some comments leading into Lamar Jackson's postseason, and that were these right here. People want that there's going to be this light bulb moment where all of a sudden Lamar is a great postseason player. I don't think that's coming. I think this is who he is. I also think one day he'll win a championship despite it. I think he is as great as people say he is, and he's probably not going to get over this. Nick Wright, leading into Ravens Steelers. Leading out of Ravens Steelers, another Nick Wright tweet who watched Lamar do what he does best, and that was carve up Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin and company had absolutely no answers, and now they're marching on, the Ravens are, to the divisional round against the Buffalo Bills this upcoming Sunday night. Nick watched that game unfold and tweeted this out post-game. Great game by Henry, obviously. More importantly, the first playoff game of Lamar's career where he's looked like regular season Lamar from the opening snap, and overall his second good playoff game ever, and he cites the 2023 divisional round against Houston. Remember, he had a stellar second half against the Texans. I believe it was tied at half, if memory serves. The tweet finishes up, great sign as the Ravens look awesome heading to Buffalo. So, okay, that's fine. And I agree with all of that. This was far and away Lamar's best full 4-quarter postseason performance. The second half against Houston was just generational last year. But if we're talking about full body of work, I would agree. Where I don't agree, and where I think he becomes agenda-driven, does Nick Wright, is stuff like this. It was a 6-game sample size going into this past weekend. It was Lamar's 7th career game in the postseason, one of which he didn't even finish the first time he played Buffalo in January of 2021 because he left the game concussed. This isn't who he is, and that's why all week long leading into this wild card game, we were pounding the table that we choose to lean on what he's done for us lately, or for you lately, rather than what he was prior, in prior postseasons. That's where I was. You want to know where Chris Broussard was? In petty mode earlier today when he had a whole lot of fun with his co-host, Nick Wright, on First Things First. Get ready for this clip. Unfortunately, I had to throw a screenshot over it, so it's going to be audio only, but don't worry. I made sure to pick the proper screenshot. And if you want to go check out the full video, you can do so by going to my Twitter, where there isn't any copyright. Because of YouTube, had to throw a screenshot over this. The next 3 minutes is a wild ride. You will hear Chris in epic form. You will hear an a cappella group. You will see him in a Ravens customized robe. You will see him and hear him getting after the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been sent into oblivion. And most of all, you will hear him taking a victory lap, rather satisfyingly, over his co-host, Nick Wright. Here is Mr. Broussard.
Brew, did Lamar silence his playoff doubters?
Before I get to Lamar and the Ravens, let me tell you something about the Steelers. What I like about the Steelers is that they watch first things first. And because they watch first things first, for the last 2-3 months, they have heard my friend, the great Nick Wright.
Thank you.
Talk about how they had Lamar Jackson's number.
Yeah. Well,
how he was even scared of them.
He said it.
And then when you throw in that they listen to Nick talk about Lamar's woes in the playoffs, how when the postseason comes, he goes on the throat. He chokes. So because of that, the Steelers went into the Ravens' house feeling a bit chesty, thinking that they were going to get a diminished Lamar Jackson and pull off the upset. But guess who else watches first things first?
Ooh.
The Ravens.
Oh.
And the Ravens knew. They saw Brew's marching orders. And boy, did they carry them out to a T. So when the Steelers showed up, they grabbed him by the back of the neck, pulled him in the house.
Pulled him in the house.
Said, fetch me my robe. Turn on the big screen, the wire. And then get in the kitchen.
Yikes.
And get me a sandwich with some chips. And of course, I gotta wash it down with a soda pop. It was music to my ears.
Where's the food?
Said he's the smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
Jordan's on his feet.
Jordan's on his feet.
Shade so sweet.
Shade so sweet.
Versace roll from Nick.
Versace roll from Nick.
Swagger don't quit.
Swagger don't
Remember when it told you what the Ravens would do.
Ravens would do.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
And that man Brew.
That man Brew. Brew.
Oh, he's the smartest man. Now it's time for a snack. Put it in my hand. Make me a sandwich. Soda pop. Don't forget the chips. Please don't forget the chips. No mayo. Oh, fellas, that man Brew. Brew, brew.
I mean, those
Oh,
guys are just
yeah,
the best.
soda pop.
Legitimately a great song. I mean, it was really great. Fantastic. Brew, would you like me to go?
I'm going to be humming that all the rest of the show.
I don't blame you. I don't know that I had to say smartest in the room as many times.
I did not. They made that up themselves after observing the show.
All right, no, but in all seriousness,
It's all you.
Okay,
I'm done.
I'm done. I am done. Listen, whoever hired that a cappella group to come in and dominate that segment, probably on the producer side of things, as you guys know, when it comes to TV, behind the scenes, the real MVPs, whoever hired that a cappella group, who off the cuff or at least studied up on the show and was able to put together that customized song for Chris Broussard, that might deserve an Emmy. And if it ain't going to be a national Emmy, it's sure as hell going to be an Emmy in this city. I'll tell you that right now. How about the Wire reference? How about the a cappella group? How about the robe? How about the petty victory lap that Chris took throughout that? That was hysterical. And I can promise you one thing. I would have to think we're definitely going to be replaying that segment multiple times this week and probably again tomorrow on the Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. So well done there. That is some elite television entertainment. And Chris Broussard, next time he's in Baltimore, I can't envision him ever paying for a drink at any establishment here locally. So well done. That stuff is entertaining. It's been far from entertaining in Pittsburgh these days, I guess, if you're a Steelers fan. For those of us in the Baltimore area, perhaps you find this to be elite entertainment. The last time the Steelers won a playoff game under Mike Tomlin, you got to go back to 2016. And that is the 2016 season. It was January of 2017 to be exact, where they took down the Kansas City Chiefs. 18-16 was the final. In the postseason since then, you can see it's been utterly disastrous. And of course, the Ravens just handed them their latest loss. Mike Tomlin is 0 for his last 6 tries in the month of January in the postseason. 28-14 was the final over the weekend on Saturday in a game that really was never in doubt from a Baltimore perspective. Dan Orlovsky did not mince words whatsoever when it comes to reviewing the tape of what the Steelers left out there on the field in Baltimore the other night.
I agree with that point, but I want to bring it back to, and hearing both you, Shannon, and Stephen A. talk about it right now, my mind goes to, is Mike Tomlin a little bit like Jerry Jones in regards to he is an unbelievably loyal person, and that at times when it comes to his business of football, it might hinder them a little bit because the loyalty to Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay.
What's that?
I apologize. I thought you said Jimmy Johnson. You said Jerry Jones. My apologies. Go ahead.
Yes, the loyalty to some people, because he values the relationship so much, it might hinder them as a football team. Because, like, when I hear George Pickens talk, one, I don't like the fact that he does it, but he knows. And I don't like the fact that he does it because Mike Tomlin has had his back. Mike Tomlin has stood by him on a consistent basis and tried to develop the man. And I want to see a little bit of like George paying that forward in some of those situations. I'll say this, Stephen A., because you're a Steelers fan. That tape this past weekend's tough to watch, man. It's as tough a Steelers tape that I've ever seen, all across the board. The offense, the defense, the fight, the effort, the detail, the consistency, the being on the same page. It was bad. And last week, you and I got into it in regards to Mike Tomlin. And I said, you're nuts if you're the Steelers and sitting there going, well, let's move on from Mike Tomlin. I still feel that way, but I also have to sit here and say, it's hard to watch that tape and not think something has to change. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Yes, the quarterback is very much so a part of that conversation, but it's hard to watch that tape and you go, yeah, we're just going to run it back as is and we'll be fine. I don't agree with that.
Ooh, it's going to be a loud and noisy offseason around Pittsburgh. So if you felt like that was the case around John Harbaugh earlier this year when all the passing defense issues were taking place, just think about what the Steelers fan base is feeling entering this offseason with clearly change needing to be on the horizon. Now, which tune, I see the chat, which tune do you prefer? Orlovsky shredding what Pittsburgh's all about, or the a cappella group that First Things First just hired? You guys are literally begging me to play it again. I guess I better.
Brew, did
Why the
Lamar
hell not?
silence his playoff?
Where's the food?
Said he's the smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
That man Brew.
That man Brew.
Jordan's on his feet.
Jordan's on his feet.
Shades so sweet.
Shades so sweet.
Versace wrote from Nick.
Versace wrote from Nick.
Swagger don't quit.
Swagger don't
Remember when it told you what the Ravens would do.
Ravens would do.
The smartest in the room.
Smartest in the room.
And that man Brew.
That man Brew. Brew.
Oh, he's the smartest man. Now it's time for a snack. Put it in my hand. Make me a sandwich. soda pop. Don't forget the chips, please. Don't forget the chips. No mayo. Oh, fellas, that man brew. Brew.
I mean, those
Oh,
guys are just
yeah.
the best. Those guys.
Soda pop.
Legitimately a great song.
I mean, it was really great. Fantastic.
Every time you listen to it, like something else pops. For me, that time it was the no mayo, like the real high octave. That was incredible. I'm telling you right now, that will be replayed for weeks, especially if they make a run right now. And I kind of want that a cappella group to like narrate my life one day. I feel like Sarah and I should bring them in virtually or something and serenade us. By the way, Sarah and I are considering doing an off-season trip to Columbus, meaning me visit her and her family in Columbus. We do an in-person show. It's really for business purposes to like just kind of turn off the phones one day and get into a conference center and just work on a bunch of different things. But maybe we should bring the a cappella group to Columbus. I may have to bring that up to her. Anyway, good stuff on them. Ian Rappaport tweeted out at the end of our show earlier today, just in case you missed this. The Patrick Queen, he finished with 10 tackles, 6 of which were solo on Saturday night. He played despite having a really bad bout with the flu. He received 4 IV bags before the game and went out there and played. And what do you know? The photo that's used here post-game by Rappaport is he and Lamar embracing post-game. Well, let's hope that chin strap, let's hope that helmet keeps Lamar out of harm's way when it comes to potentially contracting. Knock on wood. I'm knocking. I promise I'm knocking. Whatever PQ had. A lot's being made of this, of course, online, because of course it's Lamar that's hugging PQ in their post-game embrace, which did last a couple seconds, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I got to give ups to PQ for making himself available and playing through that. Unfortunately, for his sake, it won't go down as a Jordan flu game. He was in rough shape, got caught in the wash more often than not. And obviously, Derrick Henry and the Ravens ran all over his defense for 299 yards. So not exactly a memorable one for PQ, but hopefully he's doing all right as he gets ready for Cancun. I didn't have to do that, did I? That was Roquan. Cabo, I guess, not Cancun. How about Ed Reed? Former Super Bowl champ. One of the greatest of all time, if not the GOAT at his position. Ed Reed is returning. I shouldn't say returning, but he is going to be coaching and calling the plays at his son's high school down there in Georgia, Chamblee, Georgia. And their high school football program officially hired Ed to serve as its next offensive coordinator. So congratulations to Ed. And congrats to a couple other former Ravens as well who made the finalist list for candidacy 2025 Pro Football Hall of Fame. Terrell Suggs, Steve Smith Sr., and Marshall Yanda. There you go. Number 20. Giving back to a local high school down there in the Georgia area. Can you imagine? Now, he's going to be the offensive coordinator. And sometimes, hey, when you mastered your position on the other side of the ball, sometimes that can make you just as elite of a play caller on the opposite side. So good on Ed. Think about what that means for the program, too. Unreal. Mr. David Kewer checking in with a super chat. Says, Chris Broussard, get me an effing sandwich. Yeah, that was one of many brew nuggets, brew one-liners. That was really something. Hey, guys, if you haven't already done so, I'd love for you to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. And right now, we're coming up on 800 community members. I would love for you to join. It is free to do so. You get a shout-out in the welcome tab, just like Mr. Coins just did, becoming member number 739. There's different chat rooms where we talk shop Football is mostly Ravens. Baseball is mostly Orioles. You can talk swag and merch. We may have an apparel line that's coming up. Lefty literally just joined this second, so we're up to 740 members. And what's going on in here? Manny is just tagging me, trying to get my attention. What's up, Manny? Layla and Devil Dog and everybody from, I recognize so many of you on there. I love when you guys, oh my goodness gracious. What? I'm telling you, Photoshop is a wild thing. Josh Allen making out with an official, leading you to believe that whoever this is, Devil Dog 0352, feels like it is advantage Buffalo this upcoming weekend. I was not ready for this kind of PDA in Discord. Holy hell. By the way, not a big PDA guy. Are you guys? I can't say I've been in a whole lot of relationships in my life, and I know it's probably different when you're in love and head over heels. But I have never been one to be all in on PDA. Europeans definitely are, as I stereotype an entire nation. Americans, not so much. But I feel like in Europe, it's actually celebrated. It's a part of their culture. For me, I just can't envision in a sober mentality, being in a bar, in a non-college environment, making out with my girlfriend for all the watching film. Anyway, Devil Dog, thank you. So yeah, join the Discord server. Let's get to 800 members by the end of today if we could. How about it? Appreciate you guys for all the support. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. And go check out the Best of Bobby Baltimore Clips playlist. It's brand new. It's the condensed form of these hour-long streams that I've been doing and breaking it up into 15, 20-minute segments, sometimes less, sometimes more. A special thank you to Preston Automotive Group for the support that they've given me as they continue to be a trusted sponsor. I never said I wouldn't kiss in public, Luke. I'm talking about straight up like being tongue-tied in public, sober. Can't essentially envision that. You never know, though. If the right girl comes around, you never know. Appreciate you guys. You guys are hilarious. We got a lot going on this week, and I got to go finalize some plans for Buffalo this upcoming weekend. So with that, appreciate you for being here. We'll catch up with you on the Ravens Lunch Hour live stream tomorrow, if not before. And as always, appreciate you for spending some time with me. Catch up soon.